The hatchery here at the Connetquot River State Park Preserve opened in 1884, making it one of the oldest hatcheries in the state of New York, in fact, the United States of America. The hatchery here at Connetquot is unique because it was saved by the members of the old Southside Sportsman's Club through 1973 when the state of New York took over. It's also somewhat unique that it's operated by New York State Parks rather than by New York State DEC. One of the questions that comes up regularly is, why are the fish at Connetquot special? And they are. It's a very unique fishery. Almost the entire watershed is contained within the confines of the Connetquot River State Park. Fish are free to travel down to the Great South Bay and even out to the Atlantic Ocean. These are fish that don't have square tails, they don't have boils. If you fish here, the fish are as good, if not better, than they were 30, 40, 50 years ago. The situation here at the hatchery has changed dramatically since really June of this year. New York State DEC made a decision, which best the Friends of Connetquot understand was made without really consulting New York State Parks, certainly without consulting the idle hour fly fishermen or the Friends of Connetquot. And the decision was to not renew the hatchery permit for the Connetquot River State Park hatchery. Hatchery has been operating since 1884. It's operated continuously, and now in 2009, January of 2009, the hatchery will shut down because of this DEC decision. The DEC decision is based on the fact that fish here have tested positive for IPN, infectious pancreatic necrosis. The disease is not harmful to human beings in any way. It does not affect the adult trout. The fishing here is spectacular. The fish are active. What it does affect is the fry and fingerling stage of the trout. So here at the hatchery, maybe 15%, 20% of those fingerling and fry die because of the virus IPN. Over the last 20 to 50 years, we understand that that percentage has not changed significantly. A much greater impact on fish than IPN is what the weather conditions are like when those fish are in the fry and fingerling stage. So IPN has not resulted in a big increase in mortality. Even if IPN increased the mortality slightly, there's a very good argument to be made. You would just start out with more eggs and you'd still end up with the number of fish that you need. The decision not to renew the permit here at Connetquot because of testing for IPN offers several alternatives. The DEC suggestion is to shut the hatchery down until such point in time that the hatchery can be redesigned to perform on 21st century standards rather than the 19th century standards on which the hatchery is built. Other alternatives would be to isolate the river such that the fish that were raised here, these are fish that are coming from the Connetquot River, they're being stripped of eggs, their fry are being raised here at Connetquot and then they're being released back into the river, that we continue that. That even though these fish may have IPN, as long as the fish are not being exported to Carmen's River or Nissequogue or other rivers, there's no harm to the other ecosystems of the state of New York. Keep the fish here, and who knows, genetically we might even develop a strain of brook trout, browns, or rainbows over time that are immune to IPN. Just as back in the 1800s when this hatchery was used as a savior for brook trout in the state of New York because of other diseases, it might turn out in the 21st century these fish being raised at Connetquot are going to be the savior against IPN-related problems in other hatcheries here in the state of New York. The educational value of the Connetquot State Park Trout Hatchery is amazing. Having kids being able to come up here, whether it's in a school bus with their 7th grade teacher, with their grandfather or an uncle to go fishing, it's a very, very important time spent, a great opportunity. If the hatchery is shut down and it remains closed for a while or maybe never to reopen, that would be a tremendous loss for everyone here in Suffolk County and in the state of New York. When kids arrive on a bus and they come up here, no matter what they see at the park, they all remember looking into these trout ponds, seeing the biomass when the trout are fed, trout are coming to the top. They remember that. The Friends of Connetquot are asking anyone who's listening to contact the New York State Parks Commissioner, Carol Ash. The DEC clearly is looking after the science related to IPN, but Parks in particular needs to be concerned about what would be lost if the hatchery were shut down. We have over 200,000 people who come each year to the park simply to walk around and visit. Virtually all of them come up here to the Connetquot hatchery, and it's gorgeous. Will they come up here to look at empty ponds, no water in them, no trout? Clearly not. So it's very important that New York State Parks consider the impact that it'll have on Connetquot. In particular, the hatchery buildings. They were built in the late 1800s. They have a historical value that's unique. Part of Parks' mandate is to consider the history of the state of New York and to preserve that. So we feel that the best letter, best phone calls, best emails would be to New York State Parks Commissioner Carol Ash.